Talk from a higher dimensional perspective. Looking at current affairs and the energies of the times. With a high vibrational proactive approach. Come and explore the universe within us all. Sundays, 1 till 3 on Wolf Spirit Radio. With Katie Gallanti and Jay Perron. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Oh yes, good afternoon. It's the 7th, no, it's the 10th of November. I always get it wrong. All right, I'm new on this job. I only started yesterday. Well, I restarted. It's a long story. I'll fill it in later. It's been a hard week. Please give me some space. It's the 10th of November. We're right in the depths of Scorpio. The veil is thinning. It's hit the fan and it's spinning out in all directions. Tonight is Out of the Box with JP and my dear and wise and beautiful and ebullient co-host, the delightful Katie Gallanti.
What do I owe that to?
I don't know. I'm just feeling extra loving and gorgeous today. So I'm paying it forward. Just enjoy the gorgeousness.
I just slipped to JP $100.
As if.
All right, sweet. So, how are you doing? Because the whole world is exploding, but your world has been exploding this week as well, didn't it?
Literally exploding. Literally, there were like rat's eyeballs flying everywhere. There were flies. I got these really, really tired flies, which are a joke. They're a complete joke, but we had the rat man in eventually. So yeah, I've had a true shitstorm this week. Because it's normally like, oh, it's one thing after another. No, it's one thing it's loads of things all at the same time. And on the same day, Tuesday, I just had the drains got blocked, and so I was having raw sewage pouring up just outside my front door. In my conservatory where my tomatoes are growing, and then it sounded like I had about 10 to 20 rats upstairs, all chewing away at the wiring and the rafters. So that was the rats, the flies. A rat chewed through my Ethernet cable the other day, and my website went down catastrophically. That means I lost all the data and I've had to rebuild it. Oh yeah, my girlfriend was in a bad mood, but
so every front,
every level. It was like every chakra was getting its kind of testing. And I have to say, Katie, the trick was knowing what I can do myself and knowing what I have to give to others to help me with. And I think that was the big lesson of discernment this week. Like, where do your boundaries begin and end? What do you need to clean up, and what can you give to others to clean up?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, instead on my front, on the personal level, I had a very intense week, but not in a negative way. It was just intense. But I've had health challenges with just fatigue and headaches, and so I was a little under the weather. And in fact, I've had to take 3 pain pills just 20 minutes ago, just so that I can be right. So I don't know what my head is doing, but it's decided to be headachy for the whole week. Right.
Well, I'm just looking at the chart here for November, and we've got Uranus at 9 degrees in Aries retrograde. So that's probably going to be like sudden pains in the head, possibly.
Yeah, no.
What would that mean?
And also, not only that, but the Pluto-Uranus square is, as we said on the last show, is exact And in terms of the astrology, because we do our little astro weather intro thing, there's not a hell of a lot different from the last time in which we spoke. We're still in the thick of the Pluto-Uranus square, and but in some ways, just a couple of things that have changed is that Mercury is direct now. Okay, we're still in the shadow of the Mercury retrograde, so it may take a week or so to really kind of kick into the whole direct thing properly. But the dreaded Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is over. Okay.
Hurrah! 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 I wish I had a little cheering jingle. I think I should get one of those for moments like this, moments of triumph, moments of release. Actually, it feels like my head is a lot less pressurized today. So, hopefully, please God by you, as I say.
And we still have the stellium in Scorpio. We still have Mercury is direct, but it's still in Scorpio. The North Node is in Scorpio. Saturn is in Scorpio, and the Sun is in Scorpio. So we still have a lot of Scorpio stuff.
Party! Let's all go have group killings and group.
That's right. Abuses of power and undercover stuff is going on big time. Right?
Lovely. But there's the Jupiter influence, which is shining light on all that.
Well, it is. Although Jupiter has just gone retrograde, right? So it's gone more in a kind of incubator mode, right? Mm-hmm. But it's still in Cancer, so it's making nice aspects to all of that Scorpio stuff. So so there's some Jupiter goodness in there. Venus is in Capricorn and is conjunct Pluto. Venus moves kind of fast, so it's not super, it's not super newsworthy, but it is conjunct Pluto, and it's making aspects to Neptune and Chiron. So this is a time in which, every now and then there's aspects that favor relationship work. So we've got at least a week here of good relationship juice. Okay.
Well, yes. I was. My friend came around yesterday evening. He didn't leave till 5 o'clock, and it was very interesting because it's like the issues that he's having in his relationship. And his wife's left him, and all this stuff. These are their initiatory influences. And so he's learning so much from this place where he's at, where he's just like, why is this happening? And he's beginning to see the whole picture, not just his own relationship, but like the whole history and global and all this stuff, all seeing it working out in the microcosm. So that was a very interesting day, but it was, my head hurt this morning, I have to say. Rather this afternoon, we only got up to. Andy left his mobile phone here, right? So I got my head down, and his early morning alarm clock went off about half an hour after I was sleeping. So I was like, where's this sound coming from? I don't know this music. What is this music? Where is it? He left his phone here, and it was going off. So, yeah, stuff is happening. Anyway, so I know that was completely irrelevant, but no, this is about relationships and the opportunity to use relationship as initiatory impulses. And often the end of relationship as the initiatory impulses. So you got something to do.
Well, in some ways, relationships are always like that, aren't they? I mean, I think that on a personal level, relationships is where we do our own personal work in a lot of ways, right? Because we get to confront all of our stuff with another person, and to get two people to kind of gel together. You've got all of your nice karmic stuff, and then you've got your childhood stuff, and then you've got the societal belief stuff, and money pressure, and all of this kind of stuff. That I don't know. It seems to me that relationships is a very interesting playground for growth always, right? So, but every now and then, astrologically, it's a little bit more so. And so at the moment, we have some relationship weather, okay? But there's nothing else that interesting on the astrological front. We're still, Pluto-Uranusing. We're still Scorpioing. That means intensity, a lot of intensity, a lot of change, and you were saying today that everything is happening at the same time, and it was happening at the same time in your life, right? But I've been very plugged into the collective this week, reading a lot of stuff and so on, and it seems to me that everything is going off at the same time at the collective level also, right? Because we have, in fact, there's so many things going on at the moment that it's actually, I've literally had to pick out 2 or 3 areas that I was particularly interested in, but each one of those, research-wise, you could have gone in, and it's like basically lots of stuff, so you could have gone into each one of those topics and expanded them, but there's not enough time because there's too much going on. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we haven't even looked outside, we looked at ISON or anything like that yet.
I haven't. No, I didn't have time to look into the ISON thing. I was kind of I kept on going with following the Russell Brand thing, not necessarily into looking into more stuff about him, but about looking into how the Russell Brand phenomena is actually creating stuff in I don't know what to call us, because we're not really a movement. We are like a chaotic bundle of atoms with strong opinions.
The free radicals.
That's right. That kind of agree with each other. I think movement is not a right word for it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because what they're looking for personality. To call something a movement, you have to have some sort of personality leadership. This is not. It's a sole expression of the one. And so it's the one expressing in through all these different people, and you can't nail it. The unnailable phenomenon. I don't know, but I know exactly what you're saying. But and I don't know if there is or whether there should be, because I want to talk about some language later. Yeah.
Well, it's in some ways it is a spontaneous group. There is a group consciousness of a spontaneous group of people that I think all come from the same place, from the soul level. So I like the fact that you're calling it an expression of the one, right? Because it is. And if you were to actually go and look at it metaphysically, a lot of us are actually here on purpose at this time to create all of this chaos. Right? It's like, because the system here has actually been all messed up for a very, 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 very long time. What has happened over the past 20, 30 years or so is that we have been exposing it, and we have been shining a light on it so that everybody can see it. But it's not that it wasn't there before. It has always been there, right? And also because we are heading towards this consciousness shift, which again, metaphysically, it literally is, if you go with the raw material kind of language, it's the time of the harvest, in the sense that there's doorways that are opening at this time that allow for a shift in consciousness energetically. And so we are here to help with that. But also, the group soul from the dark side is also here to help with that, and we're having a little, to help with that from the other side, because they want the opposite result, right? And so there's an intensifying of agendas that are pulling in 2 different directions, right? And one of our roles is to see their agenda and punch a hole in it, okay, so that it doesn't get activated, and so that it doesn't actualize. And their agenda in general, apart from total world domination, is to steer the mass consciousness in ways in which they can control it, right? and directing it towards a low vibrational frequency, right? That is basically what it is that they're doing. They, first of all, they want to have control of the mass consciousness. They want to be able to program it. They want to be able to direct it. They want to be able to monitor it. They want to be able to basically have the big one eye at the top of a pyramid that sees everything. You know, there's nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, kind of thing, right? And then with that consciousness, once they've got a hold of it, they want to program it and program it in a way in which it's dark orientated and low vibrating, right? So that's their agenda. Our agenda is to not let them do that. Right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, one of the ways in which we don't let them do that is by saying, look at what they're doing, right? And another way is by raising our consciousness and keeping our consciousness really high, so that the second part of their agenda of lowering our consciousness does not occur, all right? And the two things go hand in hand. I know that in in the collective at large, that is not always seen as hand in hand, because my experience is that there's some people that do the warrior piece really well, but they don't really do the consciousness piece. And then there's the ones that do the consciousness piece and they don't want to do the warrior piece, right? But I'm a firm believer that you need both. You can't do one without the other. It's okay to specialize in one if you prefer to just do one, but it's important that we understand that both pieces are necessary, right? So anyway, so this week, in terms of the agenda of what it is that they're doing, right, there's several things. First of all, digital evil Google.
Digital evil. Yes, that's good catchline there.
That is, in my mind, that's who they are. They're digital evil, okay? They digital eviled a little further this week. Right? And how they did that was that, as we know, one of the places where we express a lot is YouTube, right? Like YouTube, on the one hand, you have the videos of Miley Cyrus and all of that kind of stuff, and Lady Gaga that have 1 million or 2 million views. That's the evil side of YouTube, right? But YouTube is also a place where people like us can express whatever they want and put it up there, and everybody can hear it and listen, right? And also it's a place where a lot of researchers have been sharing their stuff. There's for many years now, you can go and get an education on YouTube about pretty much everything that you want. You have to exercise discernment, but the information is out there. Like, for example, all of the MK Ultra stuff, you can go into Google and there's this guy, I think he's called Mars Boy or something, that has basically an infinite library of stuff about MK Ultra, and so there's literally like YouTube warriors out there that are compiling tons and tons and tons and tons of information, sticking it into YouTube videos and putting it out there, right? So YouTube, one of the ways in which this has happened is that YouTube allows for people to operate anonymously, right? So if I want to compile, 200 videos on MK Ultra with really far out stuff, I can do it under some nickname or handle, and that kind of privacy allows me to put out information that otherwise I may have second thoughts about putting out there, right? Now, obviously, Google has owned YouTube for a while, and at the beginning they were sort of nice about it, right? Although they have been using copyright infringement as one of the ways of shutting people down, right? Because basically they can just say your video has copyright infringement in it, and after 3 strokes they can pull your channel, right? And there's very little recourse for that. In fact, kind of none, unless you really want to get make yourself a headache. So what most people do when their channels are pulled is that they just make another one, right? And they re-upload all of the information all over again, right? And so somehow the YouTube world and Google have been able to kind of coexist together, right? A lot of YouTubers do not like Google. They do not like the fact that Google owns YouTube, but there's been this kind of like irritated coexistence between the two, okay, until this week. Because this week, I don't know if you're aware of this, because I've actually realized that there's some people that are not aware of it, and maybe I am aware of it because I'm a content creator and I upload stuff, and so I do interact with YouTube quite a bit. But anyway, so I got a message in my inbox pretty much saying, now, if you want to check your inbox, you have to sign up to Google+. From now on, you're not going to have any more comments in your inbox. All of your comments are going to be on Google+, right? And I'm like, Google+? I don't want to be on Google+. Like, what is Google+ anyway?
Oh yes, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, what is Google Plus? No, I've had a go on it. It actually seems better than Skype at some things, but it's just more of the same old crap. So yeah, go on, Katie.
Yeah. So anyway, my first interaction with Google Plus was 2 years ago when a friend of mine sent me an invitation for Google Plus, right, in my email at home, and it had a link on it. It was just literally, so-and-so sent you an invitation for Google+, right? And so I clicked on it, and once I clicked on this link, it said, thank you for joining Google+. And I'm like, what? I didn't want to join Google+.
Yeah, you joined by default.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I just clicked on your stupid link. I didn't want to join Google+, right? So I go on Google+, and then I realize that I cannot delete it, because if I do, it's going to pull my blog down, because I have a Blogspot blog that is under Google. And so it was so complicated to actually separate this Google Plus from my Google account on which my Blogspot blog was on, right, that because my blog is ancient and I have 150 posts on it, do you know what I mean? Some of which I have not saved and so on. So it was too much of a risk. I couldn't get off of this thing. And so what I did was that I just changed my information. I put a whole bunch of bullshit information on there, right? And then I privatized every possible thing. I basically made this down to pretty much nothing. So it exists, but I made it down to nothing, right? And then about 6 months ago, I get little notices on YouTube saying, would you like to have your channel under your real name? Click here and you can have Google Plus. And obviously I said no, right? I don't want to do this because I don't want my channel to be under my real name. If I did, it would be under my real name. Right?
Yeah, now I understand what you're talking about, because not being like Mr. Aware of what's going on in the outside world, I've been, doing my new normal YouTube stuff, and yes, I have been seeing it, and I've been thinking how annoying they are trying to be. I want to call it Studio 9 Jam because that's where my videos used to be recorded, in Studio 9, and I used to jam. So I don't want people to know. It's not like I want to keep my name secret. It's just that my name is not important. Who I am is not important. It's what I do and what I'm producing is important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're coming under the when you're doing that, you're coming under the umbrella of branding, right? Like, so you're out there as a channel, but you're out there as a brand. And a lot of people on YouTube are like that. It's like they don't want a channel that is about them. It's not a social network. It's a channel. And so as a channel, you have, you have a name, just like you would have if you're a radio station. It's what you're broadcasting it's the broadcast itself that has the name, right? But the thing is...
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because just as I'm now scrolling up Facebook and I'm seeing it all, there's one YouTube that says, it says F off Google, F off Google Plus.
Well, the thing is, it kind of gets more twisted, okay? So I'm going to go on with this story because I've been following it for 3 days now. because, you know, at the beginning I was just irritated because it was like, okay, you're being really annoying because you want me to change my channel to my real name, and I don't want to do that. And that was kind of where it stopped for me. But then once I actually saw this inboxy thing, I was like, okay, so how do I do this? And basically, the only way for me to actually do that is to link my YouTube channel to Google+. They're now giving you the option to actually link it to a page within your Google+. So what you have to do is you have to set up your Google+ so that it has a page within your Google+ that has the name of your channel. And then you have to link the Google+ to your channel and so on. And basically, every comment that you make, everything that you do is then recorded within Google+. Basically, it's a big, gigantic data mining thing. Okay? And by the way, the other part of it is that your Google, well, you can have a page within the Google+ that has a different name. Your actual Google+ thing, the terms and conditions are that it has to be your real name. You have to give them real data, right? Otherwise, they can decide that you're like a fake person, and they can pull your Google+. And all of this stuff, you could think, oh well, it's who cares? Do you know what I mean? Just sign up to the Google+ thing. Just link your channel. Do whatever.
Just give me the video.
That's right. Just do some fake data. Do you know what I mean? And so on. But already, a channel of a guy called Freedom Radio something. I'll have to find a link. And what I'm doing at the moment when we do these shows and I mention stuff, I put it on YouTube and then I put the links in the description. So anything that I mention, if I remember it, I put the links there so you can go to the YouTube video afterwards and you can get the links of the things that I'm talking about. Okay. But basically, this guy is the guy that last week did the LAX LAX shooter video, right? In which he went to town showing the mannequin on the floor with a big pool of like ketchup next to it, right? Who supposedly was the dead LAX shooter. He was one of the people that was was quicker and more out there with all of this information, and it kind of went viral, okay? And he's not a channel that I have seen before, but that week I saw him 3 times, okay? Because he made 3 videos, all of which made the rounds, and they were all really interesting. And he put together some really good research about the LAX shooting, okay? So this dude's channel goes viral over the LAX shooting. And guess what's happened to him this week after the Google Plus change? They have told him that the name that he has under his Google Plus channel is, they think it's not a real name, and therefore they have closed his Google Plus channel. Effectively, now he can no longer comment or interact with anybody on YouTube. They have also restricted the amount of time, you know, videos of long-term producers, they can be 2 hours long, right? Up to 2 hours long. This guy now has had his videos restricted to 15 minutes. So now he can only make 15-minute videos. Now he can no longer comment or interact on Google at all under his channel name, and he doesn't have a Google Plus page, and there is no recourse for that. So basically, they've muted him, right? One little, you know, one step, and this guy has been shut down, thanks to the Google Plus thing. Okay, so right there it shows you how this is going to be used as a censorship tool. Okay, so that's the first problem that you have with this, is the censorship issue. All right. Now the other issue is anything that you do on YouTube now is also going to be linked to Google Plus. So unless you set up things properly, which actually takes some doing because it's complicated, you have a whole bunch of your activity that is broadcast on Google Plus, right? And also, as we know, Google Plus and Google basically archive every single thing that you do. And now they have it all conveniently logged under what supposedly is going to be your real name and your real data and all the rest of it, right? So all of this is just about increasing control, right? And about having wonderful, even more expansive databases under which to log what everybody says, what everybody thinks, and so on. Now, when I started to put these pieces together, I was kind of angry, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm sure I'm not the only angry person about this, because this sucks, right? So
yeah. No, you're definitely not the only angry person out there. I mean, just scrolling down one page on Facebook, one page, and I come across the video. So, you know, that's I'd say a representation of a sample that is probably relatively large because it came so quickly.
Everybody that is a creator on YouTube, I think the audience might not realize so much the implications, okay?
So this is about restricting the media once more. Typical Rothschild behavior. Let's just name the fuckers, right? Absolutely. It's the Rothschilds, the Zionists, the Khazarians. They're all the same people. They're not. Don't blame the Jews, right? It's not the Jews. It's the Khazarian Zionists, the Rothschilds, the Jesuits. Let's call them the Jesuits. It's the Jesuits who are doing everything. The Jesuits are behind everything.
Or if you wanted to go even more,
it's the Archons behind the Jesuits. It's the space alien locust robot insects.
And that's exactly who it is.
I know.
And yesterday, because I was not feeling very well, even in my body, right? And I know that, you know, I've talked about my health before, but I've been having a really hard time with my health for about 10 years. And I know that part of the reason which I've been having a hard time is because of all the toxic crap that is in the air, that is in the food, that is in the water. And yesterday I had a moment where I was like, you know what, reptilian overlords and whoever made you, go live on the dark side of the moon. You know, just get out of here.
We'll be talking about the dark side of the moon later. We will. Don't let me go without that one. Otherwise, I'll talk about it in my show later. I'm going to have a rant. I'm well up for a good rant. I don't know how long it'll last. But anyway,
I'm in a rant mode also, so I'm with you. So anyway.
So yes, go.
The Google thing. You know, it's kind of interesting because I mean, there's been changes on YouTube before. And people have been irritated, and they'll have their little bitch and moan session about it, and so on. But this time, it's almost like a revolt. There's a video out there by YouTube Help, right, Help Desk or something, that is basically all, you know, Pleasantville, Stepford Wives kind of style. Oh, don't you really like that YouTube comments just got better? Because their excuse for rolling all of this stuff in is that which is another issue, by the way, that we can go into. I mean, this Google issue has so many levels to it. It's like, the excuse that they're using to do all of this, they're saying that, comments are going to get better because then people have to post under their own name. And therefore, all of the hate speech on YouTube, where people call somebody a faggot or you know what I mean, racist, or you know, I slept with your mom, all that kind of stuff, that playground kind of stuff, right, is going to go away because people are going to be more accountable, and it's going to clean up the comments on YouTube, right? And so there's this really kind of like Stepford Wives, Pleasantville, smiley video on there saying YouTube comments just got better. Aren't you all happy? And underneath that they
you're boiling, I can feel it.
There's like 450,000 comments saying fuck you. Take your comments and stick them where the sun doesn't shine, basically. Right? And it is probably the most downvoted video in YouTube history. There's like 30,000 thumbs down on it, okay? And then they also started putting out a petition, and the petition, as of this morning, has 75,000 signatures saying, and it's not just signatures, but even comments and so on, saying we don't want this. Okay, like put it back to how it was before. We do not want this, and so on. And then and that petition actually made it onto the CNN website, right? But the interesting thing is that, you know, because I wanted to see it, to me, this is newsworthy, right? Like Google does something, everybody hates it. There's the most downvoted video in all history, you know, and basically people are going crazy. There's this massive petition. You would think that this is big news, right? Apparently, even Google stock went down. It went down by like 1.5% or something, right? And people are saying that they're going to leave YouTube, they're going to go to other places, and all this kind of stuff, that YouTube is going to be the next MySpace, and so on, right? And if you do a search on it, you do find articles on it, but there's very little out there considering how big a story this should be, right? And guess what all of these search engines are powered by anyway?
Exactly.
Google. Well, it's Google anyway, right? That it's the biggest search engine, and so in some ways we're seeing something that I already know about, but it's kind of highlighting how this monopoly of Google over everything, over search engines, over whatever, in some ways, even in itself is opinion forming, because they can literally decide not to show that story. Do you know what I mean? Or to show it in a way that it doesn't really show up very, very much, right? And so this opens a whole debate on the role of something like Google in shaping public opinion. In you know, you have a search engine, but it's not a neutral search engine. It has its own agenda. The leading guy of Google is Eric Schmidt, who is I don't even know what words to attach to this guy. Do you know what I mean? He has one of the worst energies that I have ever perceived on anybody. He actually makes my skin crawl, this dude. He is somebody that has been going to Buildeberg meetings now for several years. He is to the point that I found an article the other day that was basically saying that Buildeberg is now Google-Berg. It's not Buildeberg anymore, it's Google-Berg. and I actually think it's Google-Borg, because ultimately one of the things that Google wants to do, right, is to not have every single piece of data on you that they possibly can. They own Blogger, they own YouTube, they own the biggest search engine, right? Now they have Google Plus that is integrating everything really nicely into a totally unfriendly social network, right? And that collects all of your data. They also own companies and own shares in companies that are doing research on DNA and DNA databases. So they actually, I'm sure that what they will be rolling in at some point is going to be biometrics for getting in, you know, instead of signing in, to make sure that it's really, really you. You just have to put your nice thumb on your iPhone and it will get scanned, and then they can have a DNA database with everything, you know, with everything under one handy roof, right? And so then at that point you've got a company that pretty much owns every piece of data that there possibly is to know about you, right? And they also have they're integrated with the whole GPS thing, so that with Google Earth they can know where you are at any given time. This is dangerous. This is a dangerous company. It's a really, really, really dangerous company.
Well, let's add another thing. When I was a Mormon,
Were you a Mormon?
I have to say, I'm actually baptized as a, now what did they call me? A priesthood elder. But I actually had, it was a breakaway Mormon group. It's not like the main Mormon church, but it was the Mormon priesthood that anyway, it was a breakaway splinter group from them. I don't know if it counts. It was good intent anyway. So I've been baptized in the River Avon in Gloucestershire. It was a lovely ceremony. I was all in white and everything. Anyway, brother of the Leviticus tribe. Oh yeah. But anyway,
something about you every day, Mr.
I know. It's I always thought I was an ordinary bloke, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
just an ordinary run of the mill. Anyway, so in this, the Mormons have a database of your genealogy,
Right.
and they may only have one part of the genealogy, but the rest of them have everything else. So if you know where the genealogy starts and where it ends, you can link up the whole thing. So they can probably even predict your DNA, even if they can't actually get you a DNA sample of you. I would say that's a pretty likely there.
Yeah, and absolutely, and but anyway, that is the agenda of Google, and Google is in bed with all of the letter agencies. I mean, and in fact, even in the comments on the most hated video of all time, right? The comments video, right? Is a lot of people have changed their their avatar to NSA Tube. They're not calling it YouTube anymore, NSA Tube, which I thought was funny. So anyway, and another thing about Google, and this a friend of mine told me this yesterday because I was talking about this, is that the director of engineering at Google apparently is this guy called Ray Kurtzweil.
He was the genius from, he was one of the geniuses who made Apple.
He is, but also one of the greatest proponents of transhumanism. Okay, apparently he has written, I went to the Wikipedia thing, in fact I still have his Wikipedia up somewhere because I can't remember everything. My brain is like, especially when I have a headache, I can't remember everything, right? So let me just have a look. Here's his page. This dude has written several books. His books, there you go. Books. The Age of Intelligent Machines, right? The Age of Spiritual Machines. And then The Transcendent Man. And then another book about the singularity is near, right? And basically, the singularity in this dude's head is the point in which we blend with the machines. Okay, so his latest book is How to Create a Mind: The Secret of Human Thought Revealed, right? And all of it is about artificial superintelligence. How do you blend the machines, and so on, right? Now. And this is, I think, also an important point to talk about with regards to Google, because Google, one of the things that they have done, which hopefully the YouTube debacle will put a pin in and deflate, but they have put themselves out there as a really cool techie gadget type company. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, look at this app, it's so cool. Oh, look what you can do now, it's so cool, right? And if you, a couple of years ago, I actually spent a whole week listening to Google Zeitgeist. That was basically a conference that they do every year or two, where they put forward all of their plans of what it is that they want to do in the future, what Google wants to do in the future, but they also talk about the world and how the digital revolution technology can interface with the world, create a better world, and so on. And basically, this Google Zeitgeist thing is a big, massive mind control thing that is aimed at the techie population of the people, the people in the tech world that literally work for companies like Google, that then feel as if they are the big transformers that are bringing in all of these innovative things that are going to be so good for the world, without realizing that what they're actually doing is that they're building a digital infrastructure for a massive data gathering operation, and for a company that is a very open proponent of the blending between human and machine. Okay? And how are they blending human and machine? Well, they're starting very gradually, right? And they, for example, yesterday I saw something where it said that now Google, because Google is buying up all of these companies because they have a ton of money, right? And they bought Motorola, and now Motorola is putting out this thing where you can have this patch that is like tattooed into your skin, on your neck, on your throat chakra, right? Which makes it so that you don't have to talk into a microphone anymore. You don't have to talk into a cell phone. You can just talk out loud, and the patch in your throat picks up your vibrations so that they're not distorted by the bus and the traffic going by or whatever. And you can talk directly through this patch on your throat. And then, because this gadget is so cool, this patch that you can tattoo on your skin, it actually has a lie detector in it that, can tell if you're telling the truth or not. And, of course, we all need one of those, right?
Yeah, no, I'm waiting for the one where they patch me straight into my brain so I don't even need to use my voice. And so that I just have to think something. And, like, if I need... Oh, wouldn't it be handy if I had, like, an alarm clock in my head where it would wake me up at 7:50 a.m. saying, "Oh, wake up, Jay, it's time to go to work." And yeah. maybe they could translate text messages to that to me. That sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah.
And maybe they could even have muscle control ones, so that they could, that I would actually be able to get up, take my clothes off, get into the shower, and still be asleep while my body does all the things, so I can get an extra few minutes sleep. That would be cool, wouldn't it?
It would.
I could imagine what breakfast is going to look like.
Well, I think, Pete, that you have some really good ideas, and they would love you at Google Zeitgeist.
I know. That's the thing. Everything I think, I imagine, I think, oh my God, that could be really used for evil. Sure. And this is the thing, all right? Now, Google used to be like, the signs on the walls everywhere used to say, "Don't be evil," right? But you know what it is when they say don't.
Yeah, absolutely. That is directed outward, right? It's like, they didn't say that they were not evil, they just said to you not to be evil, right? It's like, what they're saying with that is, don't be evil because we're going to watch you. And that is how I read it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, Big Brother is watching you. Don't be evil. Yeah,
it's watching you, so don't be evil because we can pick up any little scrap of information about you. That is what that "don't be evil" has become, right? So yeah.
And indeed, don't for a minute anybody think that anything that they type into a private message to somebody else, it's only private to you and your mates, but everybody else, all the other alphabet agencies can see exactly what you've just written. Absolutely. And correlate it with everything else they know about you. So any mention of any substances is going to be immediately understood and interpreted, and it's like watching kids lying when you know the truth,
Absolutely, and also Google actually states that anything that you write and anything that goes through anything that they're connected to, including your Gmail, gets stored for at least 18 months, which means that they scan and keep a copy of every single email that you write and of every single thing that you do. And who is going to go and check that after 18 months they've actually deleted all of this stuff? Do you know what I mean? And who gave them the right to store it for 18 months anyway? There's no laws that says that they can do that or that they have to do that. Okay? So,
or that they actually will, even if they said they would.
Exactly. So it's like, so basically there's, if you use Google services, your stuff is going to be taken by them and filed. And what they're doing is that they are making it easier and easier for themselves to actually do that with every single one of these changes that they make. Okay? But going back to the technofascism is what I call it, from the Google companies and so on, and this zeitgeist thing that they're doing. They're basically training a whole bunch of people to think that it's really cool to have all of these technological innovations. And a lot of these technological innovations have to do with being able to locate anybody around the planet, wherever they want to, linking Google to GPS systems, creating technological stuff that links your cell phones to Google, your cars to Google, and now they want to link your body to Google because they want to put stuff on your body that allows you to do really cool things. However, guess what? To do those cool things, you have to be logged into Google. Already this is happening with the cell phone world, in which people that have an Android phone in the USA, I don't know about England, but in the US, if you want to use a lot of the cool features on your Android phone, you have to be logged into Google+. Okay? If you want to participate and review anything on Google Play, which apparently is one of the places where a lot of game developers go to actually test their games, right, to beta test their games, so they put them out, and they get reviews from people that allow them to kind of refine their gaming products. You have to be logged into Google+. Okay, now if you want to leave a comment on YouTube, you have to be logged into Google+. And so you've got all of these things that are linking everything together. Then the next layer from this is, once you're all networked in this way, then all these new gadgets are going to be introduced where you can watch the internet with the special sunglasses that they have that you put on that tune into brain waves inside of your ear rolls, into your ears and brain, so that you can actually watch the internet on the screen on these special glasses that you can wear. That's already out there. This is already a year ago I saw this advertised, okay? Then they're advertising things like brain chips that you can put in that allow you to store your own memories on a database, okay? Then there's this new thing where you can have the little patch tattooed and you can use your cell phone that belongs to Google in this way, and so on. The aim here is the next level of the digital evil is the transhumanist agenda, okay? The transhumanist agenda is, once you've got everybody networked, then you make it so that they have to download stuff into their bodies or that interacts with their brainwaves that is all linked up together through this network. And then after that, the piece that they don't tell you is that once they actually have access to your brainwaves, to your body, and all the rest of it, then that is a two-way street, and then welcome to the Borg, okay? And this sounds like sci-fi and all the rest of it, but it isn't. And it's totally part of the agenda. And in fact, one of the things that, transhumanism, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most insidious and most dangerous parts of the agenda. Because once they have humanity networked through a transhumanist framework, the ability, and a real one, where they can interact with you in a two-way fashion, after that, freedom of being human is gone. It's gone. You cannot be free anymore once you belong to that kind of thing. And, by the way, in my research as a healer, when I've worked with people and I've had to interact with the quote-unquote, let's call them the reptilian energy or the Archon energy or whatever it is that you want to call it, okay? Because there's different levels within that as well. I'm always interacting with a highly networked consciousness that really does operate like the Borg. They really do truly operate like the Borg. And it's actually really hard work to sometimes you have to get pieces out of there so that the person can have something back that they gave to this Borg at some point, right? And it's really hard work to achieve that separation, because this consciousness, this negative consciousness, that is how they operate. And what they want at the moment is ultimately part of their agenda, and part of their agenda of control is not just the new world order and the one world. It's the hive. They want the hive, okay? And they may, kill off a lot of people to do that, and they may do all sorts of things. But ultimately, with the people that are left, they want the hive mind. They want to transform the human consciousness into the same technologically networked hive mind that they have already in their own group, which allows them for pretty much to eradicate free will and for total control. So all of this is like, the sex offender at the school giving people candy. Google is the sex offender giving out candy to the little children. So that, looksy over here, look at this nice little cool gadget, look at these nice little things that we can do. And then once you're all networked, it's a game over, people. So we have to be absolutely really mindful about what these people are doing, and to not buy into any of the shiny toys that they are, shiny toys and shiny things that they're giving out to people.
Well, very interesting. Last night I was, in order to chill out, right, before I tried to go to sleep, before I got woken up by the alarm clock thing, I thought I'd chill out, and I thought I'd listen to a bit of light entertainment. I listened to John Lamb Lash. I don't know if you've heard of John Lamb Lash. He's a student of the Gnostics. And is saying that basically all these people who talk about the Gnostics, they mean they're basically missing out one big thing, and that like the 2/3 or a good half of what the Gnostics talk about are the archons. And that he was saying that the archons are they manifest as greys and reptilians, but their actual form is like a locust type insect, large.
Right.
Completely devoid of compassion.
Right.
But they can't innovate, they can only imitate. They do imitate very well. And it's like, like you get for your wheelie bins, your dumpsters, you get these stickers that look like leaves so that it blends into the background. That's the kind of idea that they are. They're like a plastic coating on everything. And what I'm finding is that this week, that plastic coating is falling away. And that's the stuff that I've had to deal with. I mean, from the bottom up, I've had rats, I've had flies, and I've had poop, sewage. That's from the bottom of the house, And then I've had rats from the ceiling in the attic, and then in the cyberspace, I've had the website meltdown and everything like that. So, but I have to say, so let's just have a look at. Now, I've been in the business for 35 years. Nearly, yeah. I was 18. I started in computing when I was 18 in 1979. Right? Yeah. It's a long time, and it was in the university, and we had big machines then. And I've seen the growth and development of the personal computer world, and also of the business computer world, and the internet. And I used the internet when it was called JANET, the Joint Academic Network, that had open access into DARPANET until war games, until the war game scandal. I could have done what McKinnon did. I could have walked. If I'd have known about Unix, I only know there was Unix then. All I knew was LS. It's a bit like being able to understand hello and goodbye in another language. LS is how to list my files. That's the only Unix command I knew. LS. And anyway, so and so I've seen the whole development of the whole thing as it gets more and more. But what people don't realize is that what they're seeing is what they call the fifth generation, the fifth level of things like a CMS, like Joomla and WordPress, Blogspot, and all these things. They're built upon frameworks. The frameworks have been established for years, and the frameworks don't belong to Google. They don't belong to people. And what they've done is just exactly like what you're saying, the Borg. They've taken the technology, made their own copies of it. They've reverse engineered everything. And so what they've done with, just like that Obamacare website, it's terrible as a programmer. I've seen it, I've seen shit like that before. It's corporate waffle. It's so that the company that does it will get away scot-free. And they'll take all the money out of that thing, and then they'll say, "Oh, we've got no money for Obamacare." Meanwhile, Israel. Why do they give money to Israel? I never answered that. Yeah. Anyway, long story. You mean it's vassal rent to the Rothschilds? That's what Israel aid is. It's a vassal rent. So we've got other things, right? So this week I've done some learning, and this learning is, as I was explaining to you before, I was able to rent a server, which is basically a little computer. It's got no monitor, it's got no screen, so it doesn't need to be very big, no keyboard. You access it by the network, so you network remote in and do the things. So as far as I'm concerned, it's like a little terminal on my computer that I can log into and make changes to and bring up, and then I can create a website, and then I can upload WordPress, which is that's the software that runs the WordPress, and I also uploaded a radio server, Shoutcast, which means now I can have, and I've got my own archive program, and that's basically the website I've created. It's archives. A WordPress site that's for the pretty, so people can look at it and choose things, and a radio server, which we are currently broadcasting on. So this is the first Sunday broadcast of Ever Beyond Radio, and born on the 10th of the 11th, 13th, yes. And so what this is now doing is next thing is I'm gonna get myself an IRC server. Again, these are just programs that run on the server. And all we need to do, if anybody needs an email, I can create an email. You could have an Ever Beyond address, and I can create an email box for you. And that is, it's secure as far as my server's concerned, and it's going from my server to your server, and as long as you don't use Google as a proxy, or use Google to try and use Google to access it, it'll be pretty much secure. But at the moment, I don't have high levels of security on the site. The security is the fact that I can redeploy the site onto another server within an hour if it gets hacked and broken down.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, since you know stuff. What would it take to create another YouTube? Like, let's say that we decide that YouTube is no longer a safe place to be, and let's say that Google succeeds in messing it up and transforming it into the next MySpace. Okay. What would it take to recreate how much money would it take to actually recreate something like YouTube, as big as it is right now, for people to be able to post all of their videos and continue to maintain their anonymity?
Right. Okay. So basically,
is it possible?
It's yes, everything's possible. We'd need some programmers. Not just myself, but we'd need some programmers, and we'd need server space. And really, that's all it is. That's all a website is some web space, which is a hard disk drive that's got a broadband line attached to it. Essentially, a computer with obviously, the more people you have, you want to spread that across several servers. So you have server mirroring, or you have ways of cross-linking something. So I might have uploaded it to the London server here, but you'd access it through the San Francisco server, etc. You see what I mean? But it would take. I mean, I pay $5 for 20 gigabytes a month. So what's that? $5 times 12 is $60 a year. That's what it costs me to run this website, but with 20 gigabytes. Now that 20 gigs is fine for all my audio.
Yeah.
But to create videos, well, that would take a lot more. You know, because a video is about 10 times the size of an audio. You know, so an equivalent 350, even at the lowest resolution, you're talking about 350 megabytes for a couple of hours show.
Yeah.
However, there are other ways around that. You don't have. I mean, people watch the YouTube thing. But you could have a slide that has a picture of you playing the archive of the show that would look just the same. So you could have a, you know, if you wanted to play radio archives, that would be easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
literally what I'm.
So
this is,
yeah. So it would take quite a bit of money, but not a vast amount.
Yeah, but that is just for something, you know, for us to do our thing. But here, what I'm thinking about is. There's a lot. The web is one of the ways in which we, as a chaotic molecule of the one, communicate, right? It's how we communicate with each other. It's how we communicate our information. It's how we communicate our research. It's also, in some ways, it's how we can be networked together. However, what is happening over time that wasn't quite the case until recently is that we are communicating using the platforms of the evil ones, okay? So we're talking on Facebook, and, you know, for example, we're talking with each other on Facebook through the social network of Facebook. Before Facebook came along and everybody jumped onto Facebook, first of all, a lot of the truther type people used to talk on MySpace. I mean, MySpace, they've ridiculed it. They've made all sorts of, you know, it's kind of like, haha, MySpace, that was funny. But actually, MySpace was the very first place where I networked with the kind of people that I now talk to, you know, all day long. And I had 1,000 people on my MySpace page who were all chaotic molecules of the one. This is what I'm going to call us from now on.
Simu. Actually, I thought the next thing for YouTube is VTube, of course.
That's right. So anyway...
Maybe I should just go and grab that domain for a second. Hang on a second.
Okay. And before that... Are you still there?
Yeah, it's all right. I'll just mute while I check the domain.
All right. Okay. So before that, we had message boards, and I remember learning a lot of stuff about MK Ultra, for example, right at the beginning, around like 2002, 2003. I was actually learning that through message boards. I found a message board called Rigorous Intuition. And where there was a lot of people that were sharing about these kind of things, and a lot of them were people that had actually experienced direct mind control and so on and so on. But now we have come to a point where we are communicating with each other, we are sharing information with each other, but we're doing it out in the open on the Evil One's platform. And so, for a start, we're kind of fish in the barrel in the sense that basically we have not only shown who we are publicly, but we have actually shown who we are and who all of our friends are and who our groups are and all the rest of it, which is fine. But then you can have things like what is happening now on YouTube, where the platform is then being restricted so that, yes, we're all on it, but we can't actually do whatever it is that we want anymore, and we can't actually communicate with each other, and they can censor the channels, and they can take people down, and so on. So my sense is, if we are going to move forward with all of this, we're going to have to build something independent within the internet. And I am sure that there are, first of all, the people with the knowledge, I'm sure there's lots of them, but I'm sure there's also people with the money. There have to be some good people with the money that can basically oppose the digital monopoly that eventually is going to lead to a shutdown of the free speech on the internet, because they don't actually need to shut down. When we were talking about in the past about the fact that they may want to shut down the internet so that there's no free speech, they don't need to do that. All that they need to do is to own everything that you're talking on, so that they can pull the plug on you at any time. They don't actually need to pull the plug on the internet at all, and in fact they probably want the internet, because the internet is how we all do business, and they want the money to continue to flow. But more and more they're finding ways to actually transform the internet into a corporate world where they set the rules of the interaction. That is exactly what is happening right now with the Google Plus YouTube thing.
Yeah, so the thing is, now, MySpace started out quite clean. You'd have your profile, you put your music up, they have a player, and stuff like that. And then every time you loaded a page, you got more and more and more commercials, more and more adverts. And then eventually the weight of the adverts on the page outweighed the content that you were trying to put up. And that's the point when everybody started getting very fed up with MySpace.
Yeah, but
and Facebook is going that way. Again, Facebook is a really, really, really nice interface. They've developed, once you get the idea, once you get the theme, you develop the theme. And Facebook has developed, but again, it's now started to go down the commercial rich, they would say, isn't it? And YouTube, of course, actually does something different. I don't know what it's going to be now, but AdSense means that you also share in the as a presenter, you get money from however many adverts you allow people to run. So if anybody's really skint, but has is watching YouTube and doesn't want to can't afford to donate to Katie or myself, if you go to Katie's YouTube channel or my YouTube channel and allow the adverts to run, that puts a squintillion of a cent into a little account that over hundreds of thousands of views, we actually get $1.
Yeah.
So your channel is called what?
My channel, if it continues to exist, because who knows what's going to happen to it, is Katie Cosmic Essence. I opened that channel years ago. It's been up there a long time, and I started off with kind of like spiritual videos, right? And I think the first video that I have on there is the one that has the most views. It was just like for fun almost, do you know what I mean? That I started doing little tiny creative things. And then I decided that it was actually a really good way to post some of the radio stuff that I was doing and so on. I don't actually have the ad thing activated on there on principle, right? I just don't want to participate in that. And I know that it sounds, it's a cool idea. And maybe if I had bajillions of views, I would probably do that, right? It would be worth it. But at the moment, I don't have that activated, right? But it's if you want to see recent shows that I have done, and every now and then I do like a little teaching piece on there from a metaphysical point of view. The channel it's useful. It's a way of getting stuff out there that gets things, I can post on Facebook, and then I can also post them on the YouTube thing. And generally the shows that I post on there that you and I do, they get about 200, 250 views on YouTube, which is not bad, do you know what I mean? So, not bad for us little people, do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and, actually, it was that Alex Collier phone call that I recorded, when was it? In February. That's gotten like 80,000 views, and that has started to bring things in. And in fact, if I were to look now at the video that we did, or the one that I put up of yourself and myself, I've done a couple with yourself. So let's have just a quick look and to see what sort of connections we got. So where are we? There's a KT one. There's a KT one, and that's had 669 views. That's the one in January. So even more than on your site. It's picked up. So it's good. It's getting out, and we're getting out, and we're starting to. People will meet through this.
It's about the information. The information needs to get out there, and each one of us chaotic molecules has its own little take on stuff, and all of us together bring together the bigger picture. I mean, because the New World Order bad guys own everything on this planet, pretty much, and because every single aspect of what's going on this planet has been corrupted to some degree, none of us can cover all the ground. So there is a need for all of these different perspectives and all of these different researchers to bring everything together. There's not enough hours in the day now to actually keep up with everything that people are exposing and discovering and so on, because there's just so much going on. I think that there are, however, some key in my work and what I feel guided to do. It's almost as if I get like a red alert flash in my brain that feels to me like my communication with my own spiritual higher self, team, guidance, whatever you want to call it. When there are, there's some times in which I go dormant and I just focus on my spiritual work. But then every now and then I get this kind of like red alert stuff. This is really important. You have to research every single little bit about it, right? This development with Google at the moment is flashing really, really hard on my screen. It's like, it's subtle. I've talked even to other researchers about it, and they were like, oh, well, but it's just YouTube, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Well, no, it's not just YouTube and who cares. This is the beginning of the end of the freedom of broadcasting and the beginning of tagging and of a culture that says that it's no longer okay to be anonymous on the internet, and that you should allow yourself to be tagged, that you should allow for databases to be built around you and about you, and that this is all cool and this is all okay. And the other piece about it is that it's all cool and all okay in the name of what? They're promoting it as so that people can't say nasty things about other people. And this whole culture that is starting to build around the concept of hate speech, right? Now, we talk about hate speech. It's like, you can't say this because that's hate speech. You can't say that because it's bullying. You can't say that because, that is going to hurt somebody's feelings and so on. There was even a law that they were trying to pass where they were trying to pass a law that said that you could get fined or whatever for hurting somebody's feelings on the internet. And it's like, hello, I've had my feelings hurt on the internet about 2 million times since I've been on the internet. It's part of being on the internet. How do you define having your feelings hurt on the internet? Okay, so now there's this concept that there are things that come out of people's mouths that people say, right, that happen on the internet, that can be damaging, and they have to be stopped. Now, how do they sell you that kind of concept? They sell you that kind of concept through something like cyberbullying, right? Something like anti-Semitism, something like racism, something like homophobia. Do you know what I mean? So they put nice little labels on this stuff. But basically, what they are saying is that there are certain things that you shouldn't be saying. And then what they're going to do eventually is that they're going to put all sorts of rules and regulations in place that basically say you can't say this on the internet. And if you do, all of your stuff is going to be revoked. Everything that you do is going to be revoked. They have already been trying to do this through ACTA, do you remember?
And they're trying to slip through control of what people see, so it becomes just like television.
Absolutely.
And then they'll be putting adverts on that will have that same hypnotic quality as the television did, in the form of I don't know if you saw Max Headroom, blipverts. Mm-hmm. Which is basically, they said, they showed these blipverts to people, and they got the same amount of information in 30 seconds in 3 seconds. You know, it's just really fast frame. But what they found is that whatever happened to if people watch these like too many in a row, they spontaneously explode. But this Max Headroom was a brilliant social commentary, and it came out in 1984, and it was about a news presenter who had a fatal accident and whose consciousness found his way into a computer, and he became a CGI show host, and he was just brilliant. It was just the most amazing show. I'll see if I can find the torrent for you, because it's great. It was set 20 minutes into the future.
Yeah.
Great show. Anyway, it's all about this. It's all about the media control. So as soon as people get the chance, all right, well, look, here I've got a smartphone. I can upload videos. I can make videos. I can tell my story. That's what YouTube was. Your television, your tube. So... and now they're trying to say, and it's the same story as using Latin in the Bible and keeping people ignorant of communication, and all the way back to the Stargate quote. You know, he stopped teaching them how to use language. They banned all forms of language.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Actually, what they did is they created language, and they banned all forms of telepathy.
I think we need, as part of the creation of the new world, we need to reclaim our independence on every level, right? Like the whole off-the-grid thing. We have to get off the grid, even on this grid, okay? I don't know how we would do that, but I think it's inevitable. Do you remember John Titor?
Yes, the man who came from the future, 2036.
That's right. And you can go on YouTube and look that up.
Yeah, but I saw this long before YouTube existed, because I used computers, like I said, since mid-1980s. I've been dialing up modems and internet. Yeah.
So anyway, do you remember, I saw him through Coast to Coast. It was on a message board. Like, this was actually, okay, should we do the little story about John Titor?
All the way back, my mind drifts back.
Beginning.
Hang on, this is for everybody. My mind drifts back. Okay, you couldn't hear it that time, they heard it.
When was John Titor? Like 2002, 2001? When was
at least that early, because it could even been earlier than that. You know, like I knew about Google. I used to use Alta Vista. Well, my first search engine was Alta Vista, not Google. And if anybody wants a non-Google search engine or a stripped Google, I've been using DuckDuckGo. Basically, there's various ways of getting through it by getting through all the tracking by using a third-party to do the searching for you. In fact, if you go to the site, let me Google that for you, which is I tell you, let me go. It's one of those really secret insults. Mm-hmm. It's like you're saying, actually, you're too stupid to use Google, so let me use it for you. Let me use the most easy program in the world to interface to.
Right. Yep.
So anyway, sorry. That's nerd sadistic humor.
I see.
let me Google that for you.
Which I understand, by the way. I did belong to Nerdville. I studied physics at university, remember? So I basically, and I was also on the internet before it existed, because I can't remember what we used to call it, but it was we used to call it electronic mail. But there was all the universities were linked up with this thing. That's
right. I used to be on in the university college, so yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And our university was one of the ones that was networked on it, and our researchers felt that it was like great for them because they could post all of their research to each other and all the rest of it. So, but anyway, going back to Titor, okay.
Again, John Titor from 2036.
Yeah, and he, in theory, was some dude that was in the future. In 2036, I couldn't remember that, but that we'll trust you on that one. And that he hopped into the past using a machine that he claimed was run using black hole technology, which at the time sounded really far-fetched, but actually if you look up recent research on black holes and any of David Wilcock's research on black holes, you will see that the black hole technology fits really nicely with the new physics of Nassim Haramein and all of that kind of stuff. So it doesn't sound as absurd as it did at the time. Okay, and anyway, so this guy, in theory, came back through this black hole technology machine, and he came back because he was looking for a piece of an old IBM computer that he needed to do something in the future.
That's right. Can I interject with what they needed it for? It was the only computer that didn't have a real-time clock behind it. Mm-hmm. So every computer is based on time and date. Everything. Always. Yeah. That's the most fundamental. It's like it's got a digital watch as its heart. And this one had the ability to change the time, the speed, the frequency of this machine could be reprogrammed, and I think that's what they wanted it for, because it could be retuned to read a specific computer understanding with that was probably from some other civilization.
Yeah.
Or past or future, or something that they needed in order so that they could retune it to have a different clock rate.
If I remember correctly, what they needed it for was that they had run out of these pieces of IBM computer. They had actually already built the machine that needed it to run, that was the time machine that he was actually working on, that was actually looked like a car. It wasn't, like some fancy thing. It was like a small kind of system that they were using, but as part of it, they needed these pieces of IBM machine that they had run out of, and they had to go back and get them in the past. Okay, so in theory, he hopped back to wherever it was in 1980 or something, where to get the piece of the machine, and then on the way back, he popped into to just say hi to his parents. And so he was on his way back to the future, right, but had stopped for a few months to see his parents before he went back into the future, because in the future his parents had died, right? And so the reason for which he was around, in theory, in 1999 or 2000, it was somewhere in the 1999 to 2001 time period,
Yeah, I've got it here. It's John Titor is the name used on several bulletin boards during 2000-2001 by a poster claiming to be a time traveler from 2036. In these posts, Titor made ...
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the Wikipedia. Yeah.
The reason for which I'm bringing up John Titor is that John Titor made a lot of social commentary in the few months in which, in theory, he was around, right? Because he was definitely around, but we don't know if he is who he was claiming to be. That in that time period, he participated onto a message board where he announced who he was, and people asked him questions, and he had various things to say. And one of the things that he said was that in the future, in the timeline that he was on, because he was also clear about the fact that there was some bizarre stuff that went on with timelines, which, however, is different from what we usually think about when thinking about time travel. It was kind of complicated. But basically, he was saying that there had been a lot of upheaval, that there was going to be some kind of not civil war necessarily, but like a split, and that the New World Order was going to, he wasn't calling it the New World Order, but he was basically saying that the police state had taken over all of the cities and all of the urban areas, right, at some point, and that everybody that was not part of that, that had managed to escape prior to that, was living in the rural areas, and that they had formed these communities. And so basically the world, or the United States, or I think he was talking about the United States mainly, had divided into the urban police state versus the rural rambunctious ones, okay? And that, if I remember correctly, the rural rambunctious ones had actually defeated the, they had gone through this period, and they had defeated the dark forces, and they had an independent internet. Do you know what I mean? They had something that was independent that they had created as part of that separation from, into the rural land, right? And they had been successful, and they had managed, but that as part of that, they had lost a lot of infrastructure. Okay, because a lot of the infrastructure was actually owned by the dark ones, right? And so they were talking of a world that felt much more, where they had to literally, on one level they were very advanced because they could build a time machine, and on another level they weren't, because they couldn't actually build the pieces that they needed and had to jump into the past to get stuff. It's like it was actually easier to jump into the past to get stuff than to create it in real time, right? Okay.
Well, I don't suppose that they had the facilities that IBM had in the 1980s. These massive, expensive clean rooms making miniaturized technologies. It's probably blacksmith is about as good as you get, and maybe a silversmith as technological as you get.
So it's with that Titor stuff. When I first came across it, I came across it pretty much very very soon after it had occurred, and you could dismiss that kind of stuff, right? But for some reason, it always stayed in my head. It felt real to me somehow. Okay, it may not be. It may have been a prankster somewhere. But I remember when I went to the Awaken Aware thing in 2011, I think it was, second Awaken Aware, when I started listening to Nassim and David Wilcock and all of the stuff that they were talking about with regards to the singularity, black holes, and all of that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden I was looking at this and I was thinking, hang on a minute, this is the science that the Titor machine is built on. I could see it. It was like I could see the slides coming in, right, of what he had said and what these people were saying. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, that's what he meant by black holes technology. So this was not, I had never really thought about it before. When I remember reading his descriptions of whatever this black hole technology was, and it made no sense to me whatsoever. Then all of a sudden I'm listening to this supposedly new science, and I'm understanding it, right? So, and we're now in 2011. So who knows about Titor? But one of the good things about that information, if it is true, right, is it's hard, but we get to the other side of all this, and we have a separate internet. So I'm putting it out there. We need a separate internet.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to talk about something that people have never heard of.
Right.
Or actually, people who might have heard Waterman in the last few years. But there's a thing called the darknet. And what it is in towns where people live close together, they have Wi-Fi. Everybody's got Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi signals overlap. So you may also stand in your house and get your neighbour's Wi-Fi, right? So
yes.
What they do is they get various people who are in Wi-Fi range, and they connect them together so that instead of going into the server, which might be in your local big city, all the trunks go to there. It's like jumping from branch to branch rather than walking along the bottom branch of the trunk and then walking back out again. So that's what a darknet is, and you can set those up in communities. It's harder in rural situations, but there are ways of doing it. For instance, telephone lines can go both ways, don't they? So your internet doesn't, it might be possible, what I'm saying here is it might be possible to impose other frequencies on the line, on the same wires that may be dead at the time, but to just start connecting with each other. It may be that, say, the central server goes down, and the lines are still there, but there's just no juice on them, that might be able to send juice down them. Mm-hmm. Use the existing wires. They may have cut them, but you might still be connected with the rest of your community if it's a mechanical thing,
Sounds good, JP. I think you need to lead the technological revolution.
All right, I'll try and invent a new one then. I'll try and invent a new internet. Don't might make my brain hurt though. I might have a headache next week. I'll say it's all that Gallanti. So I've been trying to invent a new internet, and it's all gone pear-shaped. Anyway, now listen. Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. Actually, no, not because revolutions have got to be fun, haven't they? Like Mr. Brand says, they've got to be fun. Have a bit of fun. Let's watch people die as we slice their heads off. That's a bit of fun, isn't it? Anyway, so.
Since we are on revolution,
yeah,
right?
And guillotines. They've got there's a whole load of guillotines that the government have bought in order to kill us. So it might be a good idea to, there's a lot of, that the American Indians, native Indians, they have assassins that nobody talks about.
Right, it's good.
Isn't that good?
I'm sure it is.
But anyway, so there's people that it could happen overnight. Somebody could there could be the word, and it's like this is the time, and they just go and do their job, and the next morning we wake up and things are brighter. It actually felt like that today. Because it's been a long, I call it the long dark week of the toilet. As opposed to the long dark night of the soul. It's just been working through stuff, and I'm now tidying things up, got the Hoover out, and I keep remembering that I'm using a completely different dialect, but I got the vacuum cleaner out. We call them Hoovers. You know what I'm talking about, because you live in Britain. But anyway. So,
we
revolution.
have
Yes,
20 minutes, okay, right? And so we've done Google. We've discussed how we're going to create the new world, and I just want to very quickly go back into the Russell Brand thing for a second.
Russell Brand, yes. Give me your blandest celebrity.
As I said before, not so much about him and what he's doing, but about him and the effect that it's having and some ramifications and so on, right? And again, from observing effects of some of the stuff that's going on social networks, you can see a lot of stuff, right? So, for example, one of the things that seems to be happening as a result of the Russell Brand phenomena is that there's kind of a split that is happening between the people that are of our group consciousness that are kind of really liking the whole Russell Brand thing, and a lot of the let's call them the actual active researchers that are not liking the Russell Brand thing, not because they don't like him necessarily, but because of what it represents and what it's been pushed and ridden by, that we've talked about in the last show, right?
Yeah.
But basically, one of the things that is happening, that I've seen it happen across the board, is that a lot of people are actually, for example, it's happening on the Red Ice Radio page on Facebook. Red Ice put out a lot of stuff that was anti-Russell Brand, because just like I was saying the last time, he can see that whoever he is, to some degree, doesn't matter, he doesn't even go there about if he's authentic or not. But whatever he's proponing is being embraced by London School of Economics, Fabian Society, New Statesman, etc., which we know, or anybody that does any kind of deep research knows, is the kind of like the Agenda 21, left-leaning Bohemian elite, Georgia Guidestones part of the New World Order, right?
Yes, because they're the revolution machine.
They are.
They provide the
revolution machine. They're the revolution machine through a left-leaning agenda. Okay, you have the ones that are the New World Order actually has factions in it. Okay, they're not all the same. They have the same overreaching agenda, but they have different factions within them that have slightly different views about how they're going to implement that agenda. And so one of the factions is what I was following an insider last year that was talking about these factions, and he called the faction that is doing the whole Hollywood satanic whatever, he called them the satanic elite, right? They're all satanic, but some are more than others. This was like the satanic elite, okay? And then there was, there's the ones that are represented by Obama, Obamacare, Al Gore, environmental agenda, global warming, all of that kind of stuff. That's another section. And this, he called them the Bohemian elite, okay? And then there was another section still, that had that was more like the one world government type deal, who had a very, very kind of plugged into the whole UN thing and everything. And, he was calling those the global elite, okay, and so on. And by the way, there was one that was linked to the Vatican, and then there was one that was linked to Israel directly, and then there was one that was linked to China and all the rest of it. So these are all different factions within the overall face of the New World Order, okay?
Sounds like the 5 sons of the Rothschilds that they sent out. It
does. So if you go and look into that, and if you kind of understand that, then you can see how that there is a fairly strong, even tradition within the overall New World Order of a part that believes very strongly in revolution, order out of chaos through revolution, through socialist type revolutions, okay, through you know, and what they in the past, what they used was very much, you know, the revolt within the workers and equal rights and all that kind of stuff. But now they're also using things like environmentalism, like environment, right? Environment, green agenda.
And let's just go into that, because actually my friend who I was talking to has been very much watching and following the Agenda 21 shenanigans. Yeah. And he's also been watching this thing called Common Purpose.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we need to just digress a little bit.
Yeah.
Kate, have you got time later on? How are you doing? Because
continuing your show.
I'm sorry?
To continue in your show?
If you like.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Because, I mean, I think there's plenty of fuel for this fire.
Yeah. Can I make just if I get, I'm navigating a headache. If I get really tired, I'll let you know, okay?
Absolutely, but I got the feeling that actually you'll feel better after this. That you're needing to like let out some stuff that
it's all in my head.
Yes, burning in your head, you know.
Clustering information in my head. So yeah,
yes.
If we're going to go into the next hour, then definitely go into Common Purpose, because Common Purpose is another form of evil. So go into it, because a lot of people know about Common Purpose. You do, I do. Not a lot of people understand about Common Purpose, so go in it.
Okay, so this is it's a bit sort of. I haven't directly researched it. This is what he's been telling me, because he's very passionate about it, and it's right. So right, let's take a deep breath, because we got to step back. It's a big picture, and there are components in the big picture.
Yeah, and I've researched Common Purpose, by the way, not recently, but I researched it. And I was like, oh, whoa, okay, this is bad.
So, why they are bad is because they are basically, how can I put this? It's black magic using language. And
and also it's social engineering from the bottom up.
Yeah, which is, using black magic, which is language magic, which is using NLP techniques to manipulate public meetings, for instance. Yeah. And to get the ends that they want. Now, who's making? So it becomes a farce. Any of these public meetings, because they manipulate the meetings by putting, just like stage magicians do, they put people in the audience.
Yes, but I'm going to go one step even further back than that. Okay, on the Common Purpose thing.
Step back from the idea. Okay.
Absolutely, what you're saying is true, okay? But to understand why that actually matters, you have to go into what Common Purpose is in the first place. And basically, what Common Purpose is, it's almost as if they're creating a grassroots community structure, right? Where they basically say, it's hard to explain it because it's not super visible, but basically they are almost organizing political entities at the community grassroots level, where they empower people, almost like group leader type empowerment. And then they have these meetings where they discuss stuff for the community. And from those grassroots base things that they call Common Purpose, then they extract people that become the leaders of the future. However, right, because they then streamline some of these people into politics. And this, by the way, is happening very heavily in the UK. I don't think it's actually happening in America yet, but it's something that's...
Yeah, I mean, this is where it comes in. I mean, he's experiencing it at the school that he takes his children to.
Absolutely.
And that's the level that they're talking about. It's right down to the grassroots local communities, and they are looking for this. And this is how the Freemasons operate, and this is how they bring people off their path. They find people who are doing things. They then empower them to do what, just like we were saying, what happens to Russell Brand. always has a cost. This empowerment puts you into the network, which then, instead of helping you, is now controlling you. Just like Google. It used to serve you, you're now its slave.
That's right. I have a personal experience from the common purpose thing because, as you know, I used to teach in a school in London, right? There was like...
That's right.
In the trenches, right? Really in the trenches, because it was a underprivileged community, in a underprivileged kind of school, and you don't get much more grassroots than that. And as part of this, in this school, I used to do various things, and one of the things that I used to do, I used to teach a group of 8+ students, and my job was to really boost them so that they could then go to college, go to university, and so on, right? And there's very smart people at all levels. They just don't get a lot of opportunities. So I was running this group that was called Gifted and Talented Group to try to get some of these some of the ones that were really smart to go forward. Okay, and there were several kids in there that were extremely smart, not just in mathematics, that was my area, but also in just smart in general, because they had the street smarts as well to go with it, okay? Now, several years later, I reconnected with a lot of these kids via Facebook. They're all grown up now, right? And I'm still connected to at least 20 of them, and about 10 of them come from that Gifted and Talented group, right? And so I've seen what it is that has happened to them. And one of them was picked up by one of these common purpose type organizations, okay? And then was made head of a youth or political youth organization. And then now they paid for his law studies, okay? So he's now a lawyer, and he's now in the political highway, okay? He's basically in politics. He's now being boosted up. However, the youth organization that he was planted into through the common purpose structure, okay, is one that brainwashed him from a very, very early age. Like, I'm talking like 14, 15 years old. And the brainwashing that he has been sold, that is very much part of the common purpose MO, is, look, you underprivileged, and you're important, you make a difference, and then they teach them. It's like they teach them what to think, okay? And at the same time, they give them power. So he became the leader of this thing. And then after that, they give them money. And after that, they help them, they help them to get their education. So it's basically almost like getting the raw material, because this guy was really smart, obviously, but young enough that they don't have time to actually form their own opinions, and then format them as almost like Hitler Youth, you know what I mean? And then
format them like a hard drive, honey.
That's right, and then they empower them and throw them up through the system, and they are doing this across the board. This whole common purpose thing. If you go and on YouTube, it actually, you will find even ads for common purpose and so on. It's an extremely manipulative way of terraforming the grassroots so that it can create this homogeneous new leader, new world, new politics type thing that is packaged all under the guise of creating a equal opportunity society where everybody has, a fair shake and all that kind of stuff, which, again, it's the left-leaning side of the New World Order. It's the Bohemian elite.
Okay.
Of the world order.
The next room in the rabbit hole, as we go further down, I tell you, our listeners here in Wolf Spirit Radio chat room, Beatrixie, Eagle Flower, Seven, you're some great minds, male and female, is wonderful. So the next one down the rabbit hole is the Delphi technique.
Okay. You're going to have to talk on that one because I don't know.
Right. Again, I'm not entirely sure about it, but it's like the way of teaching debating, right? To debate it's basically you, in order to put your idea across, you frame a debate. So you're saying, I'm going to be talking about this and only this specifically, and I'll be fielding questions later on. And during your talk, you notice which people get agitated when you say something one way, and etc. And so you single out in the audience which kind of people they are by the response that they've made, and then when you take and then you're able to frame who you're going to take questions. He said, "I'm going to take 3 questions at the end," and he'll find maybe one that mildly disagrees, and another one who agrees, and another and so that he feels that the debate has won. He frames the questions. So that's the debate technique. What's that? That's my torch going over. That's the debating technique, and the Delphi technique is it's stagecraft. It's exactly like a stage conjurer will do. You have people planted in the audience, and during the beginning of the meeting, they're walking around and they're looking around at all the different people and seeing which ones are more conformist and which ones are more like free radicals, and they then are able to steer the conformists through a series of rational-sounding arguments to their position. So that's that lot done, and then if anybody starts disagreeing, they'll say things that will get them angry, and then they'll accuse the person getting angry of being a bully.
Right.
And so they've then consolidated their position on the opposite side of what the bully's thinking. And, the quote bully, he's not a bully, he's actually feeling for the people. And that person is that's how they demonize somebody, and that's how you divide the audience, and people will be divided against their friends.
Well, and that is, if you look again, I'm going to say, if you go to Red Ice's page on Facebook, okay, you can see that happening with regards to the Russell Brand issue, in the sense that I'm picking on him just because he's easy to find and visible, but it's happening across the board with a lot of people, okay?
Yeah.
That basically, there is, I don't know how this has happened and how it has started, but there is almost like that kind of phenomena going on at the moment towards anybody that is saying, hang on a minute, look at this Russell Brand thing a little bit more carefully, because it doesn't look very good if you go and scratch the surface of who this person is actually being given space by, okay? And let's stay out of is he really a good guy, is he a bad guy, who cares? It doesn't really matter. He may be the most well-meaning person in the world, but whatever it is that he is saying is being co-opted by the left-leaning bohemian, globally, environmental, whatever part of the New World Order, okay? But what is happening now is that if you say that, and if you speak about that, and so on, the piece of mind control that is going on around that, because it is mind control, I don't know exactly how it's kicking in, but it's kicking in, is basically, why are you spoiling everybody's fun? This person is actually saying something for all of us, and blah-de-blah-de-blah, and you shouldn't really be talking badly about this person. Well, so it's almost like something that people are not allowed to talk about without having a big reaction, right? Okay. And this is odd, don't you think? I mean, it's an odd thing because we are researchers, we uncover stuff. That is what we do. We do it with regards to Google. We do it, and I'm talking about all of us, not me, you, or Henrik. I'm talking about all of us. It is our job to turn the stones. We're supposed to turn the stones. We're supposed to see what's underneath the stones. Every now and then, underneath the stones, there's nothing, and that's fine. Every now and then, underneath the stones, there's a big rat, and that's fine. We have to expose that. And every now and then, it's like, oh, this stone, it may be a good stone, it may be a bad stone, but look who's handling this stone. Do you know what I mean? And that's the Russell Brand issue, is who's handling this stone? Where is it going, all of this, okay? And we have to pay attention to that. So, again, I go back to the thing of all of the war that we're in, the battle that we're in to some degree, is all about mind control. All of it. Okay? Because that is how they operate. It is unbelievably important at this particular stage in our process and in our evolution that we become that we truly own our mind, and that we truly own our thoughts, and that we are ruthless, even with ourselves, about what it is that we're thinking and why and what we get sucked into. Okay? We have to become really detached observers. We have to think 5 steps ahead of whatever it is that is being presented to us. You know, it's shiny, it's bright. Okay, where's it going? Where does it lead? Who's handling it? Okay? And think 5 steps ahead. Because at the moment, literally, we are almost like at a tipping point in consciousness. If we allow ourselves to be directed into a certain direction, we have a certain kind of outcome. If we do not allow it, we have another kind of outcome. But it's subtle, and these guys are good at doing what they do. They're very good at manipulating minds. That is their biggest skill in some ways, is to present things that you then embrace and then that you go along with, and that where you then end up doing the work on their behalf, kind of thing. It's how they have been manipulating history for a very, very, very long time, and it's how they continue to do so. At the moment, one of the things that I'm seeing out there, it's almost like there's 2 separate things that are going on at the same time. On the one hand, they are trying to co-opt us. They're trying to co-opt us, and they're going a little deeper with it. This is subtle. They're trying to present us with some people to follow, some ideas to follow that can lead us in a direction that they want. On the other hand, they are also doing things like the LAX shooting, where they are continuing their mind control with regards to the more outspoken part of our group, where basically the bad guy is now the extremist, the conspiracy theorist. It's the one that has the anti-New World Order literature in the back pocket while he goes to the airport and blows stuff up. Do you know what I mean? And so on.
Yeah, so like the Quran. Because that's his religion, and we hate people who have a religion. We hate people who believe. Hey, listen, I believe we ought to take a break.
Okay.
And you've been talking for 2 hours non-stop, so I would like to very gently bring that out. And so I'm going to welcome you in a few minutes onto Ever Beyond. So thanks for now, Katie. Let's wrap this one up. And what's your website?
reclaimingthelight.blogspot.com. You can find all my other stuff from there.